Into our guest of the day, and it's such an amazing pleasure to have you on this show. And I was just going through your profile, and I read some beautiful things about you. And of course, you're an author, you're an optimist, you're an entrepreneur, you're a director, you're an amazing, incredible human being. Welcome to the show, my dear.
Thank you so much, Diana. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have not introduced your name. Can you kindly tell us your name?
Well, my name is Mutunga. I'm one individual who wears so many hats. Like you said, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a director of a couple of learning institutions. I'm a consultant in the field of special needs education, and I work with kids with special needs. So that's my line. That has been actually 90% of what I do. 90% of what I do is interacting with kids with special needs, supporting them, supporting their families, because one thing I believe is that kids with special needs have the right to receive the support that kids without special needs support.
Right.
Receive. Right. So that's basically what I do. So let's take
you back. When you were growing up, this is something that you wanted to do?
Yes. Sorry. Recovering from a flu.
Okay.
Yes. This is something. It's very interesting because when I was growing up, and I want to talk about when I was in primary school, I did not have an idea that there was something called special education. When I was in high school, I did not have an idea that there was something called special education. I heard about it when I was actually on my last year of high school. And this was the time when, you were in this business of, you're doing your KCSE, next year you're likely to be going to college. So the reality is, pick what you want to do when you go to campus. So I was like, okay, I picked so many things. I picked something from Nairobi University, big universities, something from Kenyatta University, something from Moi University, and then one teacher, and God bless him, told me there's something here called special education. So I picked that as the last option. Because I was into medicine, I was into law, I was into all these things. After the wait, we used to wait for long. I'm a millennial. We used to wait 2 years to go to college.
Yes.
So a letter comes, and I'm like, oh, what is this? So in my mind, I thought they would say, go to UN and do something big. The society has places some weight on certain courses. They sent me to a college called Maseno in Kisumu, and they said, you're going to do something straight. In fact, I missed a point. Out of the 4 courses I had picked something called creative and performing arts.
Yes.
So it was something, I think it was medicine, there was law, there was creative and performing arts, and there was no special education, my dear. Yes, now I remember. So when I went to college, and during the first days, I attend a lecture, creative and performing arts, and I find people dancing. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do this thing. Then I remembered the teacher who happened to have mentioned there's something called special education. And back then, Maseno used to be among the only 2 colleges in the country that used to offer special education. I was like, I'm switching immediately. I did not come here to dance. So I switched immediately from creative and performing arts to special needs education. That was a couple of years ago, and I'll say that was the beginning of a very amazing journey that continues up to date. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually a good and informative story. So tell us about your time and career in special education. What roles did you actually play, and how did they shape you to what you are today?
Yes. So in college, a lot of things have changed. I went to college I was in college in the early 2000. There used to be specializations. So special education are specialization. So you can go there to specialize in maybe just one line of special education. You can say, I'm going to college to specialize in education for the visually impaired. I'm going to college to specialize on education for the hearing impaired, the intellectually challenged, or the kids with the learning difficulties. So when it came to that time, because specialization usually happens in the third year, I specialized in education for learners with intellectual challenges. And back then, before all the information that we have today came, individuals with autism used to be put in that cluster of learners with intellectual challenges. All right, so that is what I picked, and within no time, once I left college, I found myself working so much with learners with intellectual challenges. So these are learners whose intellectual capacity is significantly below, or rather it is in terms of IQ, it's like below 80. So when someone says someone has an IQ of 80, that's a do not be deceived by the number. So from now, let me fast forward.
Okay.
Fast forward somewhere. Now we're somewhere around 2010. 2010 is when I started my career in the line of support for individuals with autism. It's not so easy, and a lot of people who've done special needs tend to avoid that line of support for kids with autism or support for kids with intellectual challenges. Why? Because they perceive it as something that is so difficult. Why do they perceive it as something that is so difficult? Because at some point you forget about books and you focus on life skills. You forget about writing and reading and all those manner of things that typical kids do in school, and you focus on things like toileting. You focus on things like self-care, dressing, brushing teeth, keeping yourself clean, because the focus at that particular point, when you have an intellectual challenge, the focus is not so much on you going to UN or these colleges. The focus is on independence. So I deliberately chose to stick to that line, and I did a lot of things. I've worked in all manner of schools. From that time, I found myself working in just one of the schools in Nairobi, where I was the learning support coordinator, supporting kids with various conditions. Then I switched. At some point, I worked in a certain international school. I don't want to mention the name.
It's fine.
At some point now, I moved from that to now being a consultant. And I want to say a lot of changes now came when I began the journey of being a consultant for schools, because the thing is, and this is something that still happens today, when you go to schools, you find a lot of kids in those schools who are struggling in one way or another. Today you cannot have a school of 100 kids and fail to have like 20 of them with learning or with some kind of challenge.
Yes.
So when I figured that there was such a problem, I decided this is what I'm going to do as a side hustle. As I do my 8 to 5, no, thank God, it used to be 8 to 3. So I used to have like 2 hours at the end of the day where I would either support families. Then during like especially weekends, I would go to schools and give talks, train teachers, talk to parents. And this went on and on and on until one time I sat down and said we need to come up with a learning institution that can be like a model institution first in Nairobi, where we kind of showcase the best practices in special needs education. And that is how I found myself in a space where with a few other guys, we started a school called Bloom Garden Autism Academy, and I'm amazing school in Lavington, Mudangari Road. Then after a year, we started another one called Bloom Garden International School, and after another year, we started another one called Bloom Garden Vocational Training Center, and we are coming up with so much more initiatives. The reason all these things are being done is because we believe we need to shine the light. We need to create awareness by being on the ground and making the classroom the most important place where the real transformation needs to occur.
And with the best practices.
The best practices.
Right. Let's talk about something that I sent you. It was a clip of our president saying that paracetamol would actually affect a pregnant mother and cause autism in the child. Is that true?
Tylenol. The guy says Tylenol. So two things we have to understand. When it comes to information, information is something that is very complicated, because I can be a consumer of the right information, I can also be a consumer of misinformation. And when it comes to autism, because when it comes to causes of autism, we normally say there are causes that are known and there are causes that are not known. And a lot of people these days are taking advantage of the unknown factors to bring in a lot of untested and unverified information, which people go ahead and consume. In science, we call it it's a kind of science denialism. Somebody just denies science, and we try creating associations. You see, so there has been this discussion about that particular medicine, the one that's called Tylenol, as being associated with the increase in the numbers of kids with autism, because numbers of kids with autism is actually on the rise. But this is the thing, Diana and DJ Abstract. The thing is, we need to listen to the community of doctors and scientists, not the community of politicians. A lot of scientists, after those claims were made by the president, a lot of scientists came and tried to kind of calm the situation, because this is a very influential person. Whatever he says bears a lot of weight. So this is the problem with people who are advocating for this body of information about Tylenol. So, they've done some research. But that research does not meet what we call, it has low statistical power. That information that they are using to spread that information has low statistical power, because very small sample was used to arrive at that conclusion, and therefore the results are not universal. So when you listen to what the president said, you should also listen to what the community of scientists and medics are saying, because they know this is very bad information, and they are trying to assure people that there is nothing wrong with this paracetamol, because what Tylenol does is it is a safe medication for expectant women, which helps to manage fever. When fever goes unchecked, it has the capacity to cause deformities. So that's where we are. What is the good president saying? The good president is saying, don't take it, hang in there. You see? And he said, if you look at the clips, he said, just hang in there. There are no alternatives, but if you don't take it, nothing wrong will happen to you. But scientists are saying something that is very different. So it's about who we listen. Because, am I talking too much?
No, it's okay. It's allowed. It's information, and now we need information. So yes.
Because you see, like right now, you guys are in media. Your authorities in that line. You in media cannot give very credible advice to people in the field of law. You see, I'm in education. I cannot give very credible information and advice, professional advice, to people in a field like construction. So people need to know who to listen to. when it comes to particular information, and it's a catch-22, but those claims are unverified.
Very true.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the book that you've authored,
Yes.
Teaching with a Twist.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, a little bit about it. First, I want to say Teaching with a Twist is a very amazing book. It's a very amazing book. And at the end of this, I'll give you a copy.
Thank you.
My friend is
Signed.
I'll appreciate.
It's a nice book. So, why the name Teaching with a Twist? Because twist brings in an idea of creativity, just something that is counterintuitive, not what we are used to. Because when you are working with kids like the ones we work with, one thing you have to understand is that you cannot stick to what is prescribed in the textbook. There are so many days and times when a teacher finds themselves in the classroom, and then when you look at the way a child behaves, you're like, I've never seen this anywhere. It is not written in any book. So you have to think, and you have to operate outside the box so that you see how best this child can be supported. So that is the foundation. This is the foundation of this book, Teaching with a Twist. And in one chapter we talk about special needs education as an art. The way art is as is a product of passion, is a product of creativity, is a product of being, just loving what you do and being one, or rather being in sync with what you are doing. That is the spirit of this book called Teaching with a Twist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is actually personal. I have a nephew who's autistic.
Yes.
And I've always wanted to know, like cancer, this stage 1, this stage 2, and they've always said depending on what stage you are, it's either reversible or it's kumbaya. We can help it. So is it that the more you don't get to know it about it later, becomes irreversible? Because it's 12 years, bado speech kidogo, bado catch up.
Yes.
Is there something they can do, or it's too little, too late?
Well, when it comes to support for kids with on the spectrum, and thanks for opening up about your nephew, there's no one time when it's too late. There's no one time when it's too late. There's something we always say: the very moment you receive the diagnosis, run for support. If I get my diagnosis at maybe 2 years, I should run for support. I should put this child under the relevant therapies and support so that this child can benefit. So there's no late, Mr. DJ Abstract. Okay. One thing that I can tell you is this. So even if he's not acquired speech, the question we ask ourselves as professionals in the field of special education is speech a must? There's an autism called non-speaking autism, non-verbal autism. And non-verbal individuals never acquire speech as a means of communication. But communication does not have to be speech-based, because let me give you a very basic example. Like people who are hearing impaired, they communicate, they crack jokes, they laugh, they sing songs, they dance. There's a way they dance, and in that way they're not impaired. So when it comes now to this boy who's 12 years, if he's non-verbal, in special needs education, there's something we recommend that is called alternative and augmentative communication. What is that? So we say he can't talk, but how else can he express himself? These days technology is really advanced. We even have some of those benefits here in Kenya. So there's something we call picture exchange communication. Because most autistic individuals they think in images, they think in pictures. So if this child has an iPad that has all the icons, that touch on what is required on a typical day, he can actually use this iPad, comes to you and clicks on something like I am hungry, then taps on it, and then that sentence is played, and then you get to understand what he wants.
Okay.
That is one line of communication. Sign language, or rather gestures. We can communicate gesturally, you see. So this is one thing we always tell parents, and I know even as we advise them, we know it is not so easy seeing your child not being able to acquire speech, but we tell parents, don't be stuck at that point and at that level. Talk to professionals, let them tell you, much as my child cannot do this, communicate in this way, how else can my child communicate? Understand?
Okay.
Yes.
What challenges or obstacles do you face in your career or in your work? Yeah.
Well, there are many. There are many. Number one, there is the stigma. And I want to give you a very, just a very simple example. Okay. You see, the stigma that parents encounter,
yes,
even we who work with kids with special needs, we still encounter them. Sometimes you go somewhere because we are into exposing our kids. We take them to the mall. Maybe they are going to a place like Mombasa. We use this GR. We take them for trips.
Oh, that's nice.
And then there's a lot of staring.
Yes.
And you're like, so what's funny? What's funny?
What's weird about what you're saying?
And then when you think about it, you realize, okay, people really don't know. They know the tags, but they don't know what it is all about. Somebody hears there's something called dyslexia, but they leave it at that because it is not personal to them. But the moment they come across dyslexia or autism, they're like, hizi ni nini? What are these? So people basically don't have the information, and that's a problem. When people don't have the information, it means acceptance of kids with autism out there becomes a challenge. Sometimes we go somewhere, maybe a nice restaurant, and then the manager says, excuse me, you can't sit here. Endeni pale mkae huko, will ensure you are comfortable. So when you look at that, it is a certain form of discrimination,
yes,
you know, because people don't have the information. Number two, scenarios where someone comes to the school and then they're like, when my child interacts with this one, I think they're going to really regress. Yes. Someone feels when by the virtue of my child interacting with another child with special needs, they're going to lose the previously acquired skills, or they're going to become not function properly. They will not function as they should, because again you're putting them in a limit. They feel like it is such a limitation for the child to interact with another child who has special needs. So that is societal perceptions. The other challenges, like I don't know if I should say this, we still have a long way to go as a country when it comes to information, resources, when it comes to support. We have a long way to go. Thank God the other day there was this law that was passed, Learners with Disabilities Act of 2023, which was sponsored by nominated Senator Crystal Asiga, God bless her.
Yeah. So
it is coming to address a lot of gaps in terms of resources, in terms of support. Yes, but in that area we're still lagging behind. When it comes to information, we still rely on what the US said, what was said in the UK, what was said in Belgium. We don't have what was said by a certain professor from one of our local universities. And you see now, what this brings about is an issue of, there are those cultural variations. I know autism is autism, but there are cultural variations. And how they affect us is, okay, you find, if it is like learning resources, if all of them are coming from the UK, how about the cultural factors and realities on the ground in the Kenyan villages? You understand? So we are still lagging behind when it comes to resources, research, and so many other things. And of course, finances. Special education is very expensive, it's very costly. And when it comes to resource allocation, so that is one thing that really needs to be given a lot of weight. So there are so many challenges in the field of special needs. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, any changes that you ever wanted to do, or a project at Bloom Garden that it actually didn't go materialize to a way you wanted? How did you learn from it? How did you adapt?
Well, what you read there, I believe in possibilities. All right, we push until something happens. But there are times when the push is really hard, and especially push for resources. There's a project we are working on implementing, and this is a big one. So big that sometimes we sit back and wonder, is this going to work? And I think I'll give this example to perfectly answer your question.
Okay.
So with the Vocational Training Center school, we still have a challenge of our students will graduate, and once they graduate, nobody is willing to offer them employment. So we have this project, DG Abstract, where we are working on creating a business hub within Kilimani or Kileleshwa, where we have a collection of businesses owned and run by individuals with autism or special needs, with support from their families. All right? So we are at that point where we are looking at the budgets and saying, okay, this is big. The idea is really captivating. You know, you feel like, this idea is really captivating, but now you look at the things, the thing of resource mobilization. So there are those times when you are like, you are at crossroads. You really want it to happen. You know it is really necessary, because if nothing is done about this, then the status quo remains. Nobody or very few people are willing to hire individuals in the organization who become hyperactive. Yes. So there are those times when you feel like it's more of, you feel like you're at a place where you have this cognitive dissonance, like you're being pushed on this side, but on this other side there is also, it's like contrasting forces. Yes, but like I said, one has to believe that it is possible. Keep pushing. It might take long, but ultimately things, if you persist, things end up working.
I wonder right now, we try to deal a lot with kids, especially with special needs.
Yes.
But what about the adults? What happens to them?
That's a very nice question. That's a very nice question. So adults with special needs, they still, okay, let me give you this is the reality actually currently. And that's why, like, we as Bloom Garden, we are really pushing to ensure that we kind of address all these issues. When kids are young, especially at the age of 2, 3, 4, they have a lot of options, because I can just decide to take my child to the Mtaani kindergarten, and the child will be accepted. And I will hire maybe a one-on-one teacher to take care of that child within the Mtaani kindergarten. So below 10, we don't have issues. My child can attend therapy, or a therapist can come to school and take care of them. When they are like before teenagehood, that is when now the realities start. You start seeing now the realities. But towards young adulthood and during adulthood, the tunnel kind of closes abruptly. And what happens? Some parents, after the child maybe leaves school, some parents sit and say, school was such a nice place. It was the place where this individual was accepted. It was the place where this child used to find the company, the support, the care. So you find a 30-year-old going back to school. Why? Because we don't have a lot of opportunities. But there are people who are actually embracing this thing of, we call it community-based rehabilitation. That is support for young adults within communities. And this is how it looks like. So let's say I have a 25-year-old individual with special needs. Within the home environment, what is it that can occupy them from the beginning of the day to the end of the day? Do I have small jobs that they can do? Maybe helping to clean, maybe if I have some cows, helping to feed them. But in the end you find, okay, mostly that is what ends up happening. Because when it comes now to absorption in the world of work, very few get absorbed, and the ones who get absorbed are the ones who are mostly very high functioning. So at the moment, the reality is still they graduate and then home with parents, and it becomes a scenario of caregiving,
constantly.
Yes. Or In certain other scenarios, I've seen cases where people set up respite homes. You know, I have maybe a brother who is 40 years old. They just go to the respite home. Their needs are met. They're taken very good care of. They get medical care and all that, and that's it. Well, yeah, that's the picture at the moment as you speak.
And what's the lifespan?
I need to do my research about that.
That one hasn't been done yet.
I need to do my research about that. But I want to say this, that with the right support, individuals with special needs can lead high quality lives. And high quality life gives an assurance of a longer lifespan. So it all depends on the care they are receiving. There are those who pass away while still young because of comorbidities. Maybe someone has a certain issue, maybe another comorbidity, things like epilepsy. If there is no good care and no good support, then you can be sure the lifespan won't be that long. So what is really needed is the care. You know, care after school, care at home. You know, that one can give us guarantees of a longer lifespan.
Okay, actually stemming from what Diana has asked, how do you go about your civic education involving the parents, the caregivers, the community at large? We are Africans, and something happens to a kid, uchawi. That's the first thing that we normally want to.
A very common story.
And in most cases, it's ignorance and a lack of information that makes people don't even get the right care of, for let's say, for the kid. And putting people aside is like now even if you go to Huko Sharks, I call it bundus, you find they're being chained like animals. They're not allowed to be seen by people. How do you help people and the community at large to understand that this is something that can be treated? These are people need to embrace. They're part of the community. They're just different from you.
So with that, we usually do a lot of sensitization, holding workshops, and ensuring that we kind of demystify these special education conditions, because when it is not demystified, people usually come up with these mental shortcuts. Somebody says, this one is someone says it is because the dad did this or did not do that, and so many things. So we try as much as possible. If we take something like autism, we tell parents there is a scientific explanation as to why an individual ends up being on the autism spectrum. When it comes to another condition like Down syndrome, we tell them there's a scientific explanation as to why this child has Down syndrome. When it comes to other maybe delayed milestones, we tell them this is the diagnosis, and after this diagnosis we kind of make them understand why things are this way. So it's more of encouraging them to embrace science, encouraging them not to just throw us left, right and center and listen to, because again there are a lot of stories about the uchawi thing and people being told, okay, when you go to such a these people pray for people. These people pray for people and then they get money here and there. So someone says, akiombewa huyu atakuwa sawa. So much as I know there is time for that, and I know it is still some of those things, and especially the prayers, you don't do the prayers, but know that there is a reason, a very solid reason, and a very solid explanation as to why we are where we are with this particular child. Say for instance, maybe a child has something like this condition called cerebral palsy, which is like the area of the brain responsible for mobility is affected, and therefore I can't move my hands, I can't walk, my mobility is limited. So you take the parent through that journey, or you tell them this is what is leading to A, is leading to B, leading to C, but you don't leave them there. You have again to leave them at a place where you give them a lot of hope that even with this cerebral palsy and what your child is able to do and what they are not able to do, these are the available interventions. So we talk more on the interventions, because when a parent hears, okay, this is not final judgment, there's something that can be done to kind of improve this child's life. Akisikia hivyo, wana relax, and then we start the journey of interventions.
Well, we're about to wrap up. Do you have any last message you'd like to send out there, so that, and also how can we reach you?
Well, what would I like to tell people out there? I would like to tell people out there that you know today in the world we talk a lot about inclusion. We talk about acceptance. We talk about things like awareness. So what I'd like to tell whoever is listening is that people with special needs, regardless of which condition they have, should they belong where all of us belong.
Right.
Okay.
We share the same social matrix with these people. We should allow them in our spaces, and they're not a threat, and they're not a burden, and they don't need sympathy. All they need is empowerment, and we remove the barriers, social barriers that make them to not function normally. Because let me give you an example. If a person with who is blind, a person who is blind lacks the cane, the cane that they used to they walk.
Yes.
You kind of make that person handicapped, but just give them the cane, and then they are okay.
Function normally.
They function normally.
Yes.
So all we need to do is ask ourselves one question: what is it that I can do to make this person's life easy? Right? The other one is like all those things that we said, just by the book, learning with teaching with the twist. You'll find a lot of information there. Once you read it from the beginning to the end, it talks about all those socio-cultural dynamics. It talks about where we are as a country, what solutions can be put in place to kind of improve the state of affairs. Yes.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your company, and we can't wait for the book that has been signed by you.
We're going to sign it.
And you, the listener out there, if you want to see more of this interview, just go to our YouTube channel, that is Radio Generation Kenya, and you get to know more about Daktari and Radio Generation.